YouTube, it's Tone. I'm back with another one for you, and this one here is a what is it? It's a continuation of cracking the code. This is the eighth video of it. We're gonna get into taking control of the trade name, perfecting your security agreement, and the notice of the state of your what do you call it? Reclamation, if you will, of your trade name. So let's get into this shit. Let's get into this shit. See what we got. So creditor equals sovereign. In modern global society, there are few truly sovereign jurisdictions where outside creditors, Federal Reserve, IMF, do not have final say over that domain and everything in it. When anyone can dictate the terms of a contract with any government's code enforcement personnel, that party is the creditor in the matter of a sovereign by definition. This is an inescapable fact because on the negative value liability aspect of the currency, all such purported valuable consideration, e.g. Federal Reserve notes, are borrowed into existence and represent debt or liability only. There is, for all intents and purposes, no other way of actualizing political sovereignty on this planet at this time. The sole possible exception might be using overwhelming military force, but any such undertaking is rare and short-lived because the same small group behind the Federal Reserve IMF consortium dictates over the armed forces of all major powers of the world, including the United Nations from the top. These fiends control all official media of exchange currency and foreclosed on all governments of any stature and installed their own talking heads decades, centuries ago. Therefore, the fullness of your own political power, autonomy, sovereignty is determined solely by your personal abilities in dealing with the government or frontmen who attempt to engage you in contract at the behest of their masters, the currency government owners, creditors, for the purpose of expropriating your wealth, assets, and resources without exchanging anything of value. And so that's an unconscionable contract when somebody forces you to enter into one to begin with, and then one that is a unilateral contract at that, where only one person is dictating the terms and expecting you to fucking perform based on their expectations, apparently, right? So this phenomenon is evidenced nowhere where more clearly when then in a contemporary American courtrooms when a judge threatens a patriot type with contempt if he continues bringing up the issue of constitutional rights. Now, let me tell you why you don't have constitutional rights. You have constitutionally protected rights, okay? So you already have rights bestowed upon you by the Creator, which are referenced in the Constitution. Your rights do not come from the Constitution. On top of that, the United States Constitution doesn't even reference you when you're not a party of it. So when you go in there talking about the United States Constitution, you're already looking like a fucking asshole. These people are the only ones bound by the U.S. Constitution, and it has nothing to do with you. It's a limitation on government, and that's the sole purpose of it. You know, your rights are going to come from your state constitution. They're going to come from your Bill of Rights. The estoppel documentation that I put together always has the Bill of Rights referenced in it because it's taking you back to that, and that's the contract that you're going to be entering into. And it's editable. You can take out and put in whatever you want in there, you know, because it's your contract. You're going to be dictating the terms of it. That's how that shit works because you are the fucking creditor. All right, it's not them. The government is bankrupt. You are the creditor. They like to switch the roles on you and shit like that. So, technically speaking, a traffic citation recipient, shadow sovereign, for examples, abandons the Constitution in favor for the vehicle code for the instant he forks over his driver's license and begins doing business with a traffic cop long before entering the courtroom. Right? So that's why they ask you for your license and registration and all that shit. They're trying to get you to contract with them. I use my passport. They don't really get far with me. You know what I'm saying? They don't really get far with me with like shit like that. So, you know, I'm definitely not gonna give them what the fuck that they're looking for. And if they come at me any type of way, bro, I'm filing my taxes, my nigga. That's all that we have to talk about is what the fuck is your EIN and your TIN, bro. Because if you're gonna force me to do business with you, I promise you the IRS will be knocking on your fucking door, bro. I promise you that. So it's like, it doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. Because I'm not coming out of pocket for any of that shit anyway. If the IRS thinks that you should get your money, then guess what? Then you'll get it. But I highly doubt that that's going to happen like that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it is a game of chess. You guys got to just learn how to play the game, man. That's all it is. That's really all it is. And it is funny when you see it for what it is, because these people really don't want the smoke like that. They're all privately owned for-profit corporations, and they really don't want the smoke with the IRS. I promise you that. So, and I mean, to be honest, I mean, there's power in knowing how to play this game, and power in knowing that it's all commercial in nature, right? So sovereign political power is wielded when a would-be commercial invader, marauder, withdraws and abandons his or her assault on your property freedom based on the liabilities involved with doing business with you. When you can enforce a private consensual contract against members of the corporate government of the country you live in, despite the fact of being declared enemy in war, you have indeed demonstrated sovereignty as well as it can be demonstrated. The real game is not only being legally detached from all commercial intercourse in society, the real game is being actively engaged in any and all desirable social commercial exchanges in life, just not being penalized or punished solely because one is a participant. The unfortunate status quo for most folks in America at this time. And that's what it is. It's because you don't understand how to play the game, so they need your credits, and they're gonna fucking find a way to get it out of you without telling you that you're really the boss. Because why the fuck would they even be fucking with you to begin with? You really think that they wouldn't be fucking with you if they didn't need that fucking credit from you. They could just go get the money somewhere else, right? But they need that shit from you, and they don't know how to ask nicely, so they do. And then two, it would fucking give it away if they came at you any other way. You know what I'm saying? So plausible fucking deniability, right? This is the cloak that they operate under. So if they really came at you like, hey, look, this is my EIN, would you mind sliding some of your credits through for me? No, they're gonna come at you on some other fucking retarded ass bullshit and just fucking expect you to play the game, the game that they want. It's fucking ridiculous. It's funny though. So taking control of the trade name. Whereas the copyright notice officially establishes legal title, read the trade name, under common law, and sets forth the terms of the consensual contracts for its unauthorized use. The UCC is what is used for enforcing the terms of the contract. Even though the copyright notice does not depend on the UCC for its validity and enforceability, its provisions are written in strict accordance with the UCC guidelines for facilitating easy and thorough non-judicial foreclosure proceedings on anyone who would attempt commercial gain at your expense through unauthorized use of your trade name. However, the paperwork aspect of dealing with the assaults, attacks on your freedom of property will not be taken up here, rather under handling presentments in the practical portion of this manual. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If government agents, prosecutors, judges, attorneys, police, taxmen, etc. can freely engage your ens legis artificial person straw man trade name in business, then so can you. So that their computers are rigged, listing accounts names in all capital letters only, in practice falling outside of both the bounds of English grammar and the prescriptions of law, when such could just as easily be programmed for writing in English, and conclusive evidence that a different game is being played more than one is advertised. So every conceivable roadblock for deflecting general comprehension of this most ingenious and subterfuges has been meticulously installed down through the centuries with unimaginably complex safeguards for keeping even lower level operatives in the dark, pleading innocence and claiming helplessness based on archaic computer programming limitations. However, will no longer wash as an excuse from Big Brother's frontmen. Besides copyrighting the trade name under common law, the most important objective is establishing an equivalent claim name under the AG of the UCC. Since you are a different party than the ens legis trade name, you may do business with it if you desire, and you can also obtain official acknowledgement of the contract from the government agency, the UCC filing office. The following series of the document has been painstakingly developed and formulated for maximal protection of this contractual relationship, thereby preventing any third party from intervening and impairing the private contract. So what they're saying here is that you can get your common law copyright and do all that, right, and notice them privately, just like you do in your security agreement, which I believe we're going to get into next. And you can also do it like I did. So I fucking registered the all caps trade name with the IRS as a corporation as well. So I have the EIN, and that's how I'll be operating in commerce there. And when I open my my private trust and things like that, that's where the funds will be going from my all caps name that's registered with the IRS. And I'll pay whatever taxes necessary in the same fashion of whatever the coin of the realm is. It's not a big deal to pay your taxes, right? If you're operating in the public, it's whatever, right? But you got to get familiar with operating a private trust. That's the last part of the shit that I'm finishing up right now. And I'll be doing that shortly too. So when I'm done with this shit, with this game that I'm doing here for you guys, I'll do this as long as I can. I'll jump right into the private trust, and we'll just fucking, operate a different type of business at that point. So that's the game plan. I'm excited about that shit, man. I have a lot of fun with this. So I hope you guys enjoy this information too. So the private agreement, contractual basis of the relationship. The document that establishes the contractual relationship between you, the living, breathing man and woman, as the creditor, and the trade name, the corporately colored ens legis, artificial person, the straw man as the debtor is called the private agreement as a redemptor. The only requirement for forming this contract is the personal certainty that you are not the trade name and that the trade name is a bona fide legal entity separate and distinct from you. The private agreement is a bargain of the parties in fact and qualifies as an agreement under the code at UCC 1-1023. A sample 2-page agreement for the fictitious character John Henry Doe and his strawman John Henry Doe is provided in the practical section and should be studied for well understanding the nature of the particular type of creditor-debtor relationship and why such an agreement and contract is entirely legitimate. And it is fucking legitimate. It's because you're two different entities. I told you that the two witnesses in the Bible are you. That's what these motherfuckers do not tell you. But I'm telling you that. There's the same way that you can notarize your own shit, you know? So we go ahead and we use the public notary as well for this. I mean, I did personally, just to go ahead and, even though it's a private contract, but to make it legally binding in the public as well. You use a public notary, and that brings it into the public. All right. So that's going to bring you into the equity jurisdiction as well, as you know that it's your private contract. So you're covered in the private as well, and you're going to notice them privately, right? You're going to send that into UCC 3. So here. The hold harmless and indemnity agreement, a most vital component, despite all other incredibly positive aspects and elements of this process. If the following single joint is not firmly and legally addressed and established, the whole effort can be nullified. As mentioned earlier in this essay. Big Brother's entrapment scheme consists of corrupting a true sovereign's name into an all-capital letter citizen of the United States trade name, and then 2, conning the sovereign into unwittingly voluntarily contracting a surety for the trade name, concealing the victim his/her new status, but also ruthlessly enforcing the new suretyship obligations without explanation. The hold harmless and indemnity agreement is a commercial legal document wherein the trade name debtor expressly covenants that 1. The creditor is neither a surety nor an accommodation party, CUCC 3-419 for the debtor, and 2. The debtor holds harmless and indemnifies the creditor you from and against any and all claims, legal actions, orders, warrants, judgments, demands, liabilities, losses, dispositions, summonses, lawsuits, costs. So they can't even fucking send you anything in the name of your live, living, breathing fucking being, right? Because this here in this contract already relinquishes you of any and all possible liability for anything that has to do with the fucking trade. So this is an awesome motherfucking contract, all right? Awesome contract. So protects you from all that. Liens, levies, penalties, damages, interest, expenses, both and all associated with the debtor's trade name. This is extremely profound when one realizes that the man and woman in jail awaiting arraignment, legal event where the defendant enters a plea for the magistrate, is not the actual defendant, but the surety for the defendant. The more legal trickery and unaware and unwitting surety is duped into the unconscionably identifying himself as the defendant when addressed by the magistrate as such, and thereby voluntarily magically becoming the defendant from that point forward. Magically, yeah, it's fucking black magic. And this type of exchange, let's see what it is. Got 2 more slides after this. This type of exchange with the trade name is legally and technically a dummy and serves as the legal object, at least on paper, until the surety associated therewith can be suckered into taking its place. The hold harmless and indemnity agreement is attached with the security agreement described below and made fully part thereof by a notion and the filing process. A certified copy of the filed UCC1 financing statement referencing a security agreement and hold harmless and indemnity agreement as set forth in this manual constitutes documentary evidence that the all caps party name in any indictment, warrant, etc., is not the flesh and blood woman being held in captivity, but rather the artificial trade name, a fact of enormous legal significance considering the techniques used by the judicial system in attracting new customers, generating repeat business, and marketing for their services. The security agreement, creation of a security interest, importance of the common law. A security agreement is a consensual agreement whereby a debtor transfers a security interest and collateral in exchange for valuable consideration, as in defined as an agreement that creates and provides for security interest, UCC 9-102. A security interest is an interest in property that secures payment performance of an obligation, UCC 1-102, as the UCC equivalent of a statutory lien, i.e. security interest in prejudicial and non-judicial. Whereas the private agreement lays out the terms of the commercial agreement between the two parties and is authenticated, meaning signed, CUCC 1-102, by each, and security agreement concerns only the debtor's pledge to property, the collateral, and accordingly need only be authenticated by the debtor. There is nothing preventing the secured party from signing as well, as recommended herein. The following execution of the security agreement, the creditor is known as the secured party because he has the benefit of the security interest in the property of the debtor. He is secured, and even in the event that the debtor does not make payment, perform as agreed, a secured party is a party in whose favor a security interest is created, provided for under a security agreement, UCC 9-102. When the security interest is said to attach, generally the security interest attaches and becomes enforceable against the collateral the moment the following three requirements are satisfied. There is an adequate security agreement between the parties describing the collateral. The secured party creditor gives value of some kind, and the debtor has rights or the ownership in the collateral, power to transfer rights in the collateral, see UCC 9-203. There are, however, certain types of property for which attachment of the security interest can occur only in a certain way other than filing, meaning that mere description of the collateral in the security agreement is not adequate. So the revalue. Because contemporary de facto monetary system, which functions in a mirror image of reality via debt instruments, to carry an inherent liability, interest, income tax, rather than lawful money. So apparently that's one of the definitions there. So here, having been formed, the pretext used by Big Brother's henchmen for slyly establishing contract with unwitting customers, and many, the object of all such cons, however, always the same. The victim, citizens' wealth, money, property, assets. Code enforcement type actors are seeking the slightest measure of justification for carrying out their agenda. Nearly all of them know that consent is required every step of the way, though many will arrogantly storm ahead without it, thinking they are above the law. They may be above statutory law code, but no one is above the articles of the Uniform Commercial Code governing private consensual contracts. A unique aspect of consensual contracts is that the agreed upon terms may be privately enforced through commercial law because there is no controversy, dispute needful, or resolution by a third-party judge or court. The UCC is a prejudicial and non-judicial. That is why the creditor motorist in the above example could begin seizing certain property registered in the officer's trade name following the officer's default on payment and obligation, having been given the opportunity to back out of the contract and being properly invoiced, because it is so stated that the consensual contract, both on the copyright notice and subsequent formal contract, that the creditor motorist would send an officer if he were issued a citation. The officer would have consensually entered into the contract that, and so you know what's so after you notice them when you're fucking estoppel and your copyright notice and all that, and they decide to move forward, they're agreeing to the fucking contract because you gave them an opportunity to back out of it, and they were formally noticed right there on site at any fucking particular incident, and they're aware of the fact that upon invoice they have 10 days to pay, and then if they don't, that you will go ahead and begin seizing their property. Really that simple. So you don't even need a judge because they already agreed to the contract. So the officer would have consensually entered into the contract if, having been fully noticed of its terms, and he did not fully, formally, and officially withdraw, delete, erase, destroy all traces of the motorist's copyrighted property brought into existence by him, and possibly even surrender all original documents, written, electronic, taped, and all copy thereof, containing both the policeman's signature and the motorist's trade name, depending on the severity of the terms of the contract set by the motorist. So they pull you over, you got to set the fucking terms of the goddamn interaction, or else it's going to have to go however the fuck that they say it, you know what I'm saying? So all they're doing, you know, they're just fucking pirates. They're trying to get you the contract, and you can, you know, fucking consider it. But then consider also adding your own fucking fee on that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, to rent space in my mind and to come into my dream and my zone, bro, that shit is not free. Let's just put it like that. And it ain't cheap. It ain't free and it ain't cheap. So types of personal property collateral. So there are two broad types of personal property classifications: tangible and intangible. Tangible means something you can hold. Intangible is something that's in your fucking mind, like the government. It just fucking exists in your mind. Tangible property is categorized as goods, which means all things that are movable when security interest attaches, and includes fixtures, goods that are attached with real property. Some standing timber, unborn animals, crops, manufactured homes, and computer programs embedded in goods so that a software is considered part of the goods. UCC 9-102. All goods are subcategorized at UCC 9-102 based on their use in the hands of the debtor into one of the following types: consumer goods, farm products, inventory, and equipment. Intangible personal property, on the other hand, is classified by its characteristics rather than how the debtor uses it, and this consists of the following subcategories: money, investment properties, commercial tort claims, letters of credit rights, shadow paper instruments, deposit accounts, documents, and general intangibles. So there are many more subclassifications of personal property, but all fall within one of the above 15 categories of tangible and intangible property. Fortunately, the intricate distinctions of and between all the different kinds of personal property are less significant for our needs than they are for those Big Brother's henchmen. We are merely bolstering our own position for maintaining commercial integrity. Big Brother's operatives are out there playing the game of swindling people's wealth while attempting to avoid general detection as being engaged in such activity. Remember, and so that's why they're so scared of the fucking IRS. These motherfuckers, yo, how long do you think they haven't paid taxes and fucking pretending to be government agencies and shit? They don't want to have to pay taxes. So remember, and then, I mean, they don't want them ripping their books open either, because they're all fucking fraudulent assholes, and God knows how much they're really fucking jacking out of everybody's accounts, and they would have to pay taxes on all that at 13 fucking percent interest. So they really don't want that smoke. Remember, the substitute money Federal Reserve note system is designed expressly for generating defaults and bankruptcies and channeling all private wealth into the hands of the owners of the government. That is why it is so important that the money power have encrypted codes for keeping people in the dark about the law, remedy, and recourse, and blackmail politicians into their pockets for passing draconian totalitarian legislation to crush dissenters, thwart popular movements, and establish global plantation. Perfecting legally established the security interest. Perfection is the security interest after the security interest has been attached is usually accomplished by the filing of a record known as the UCC financing statement. In the UCC filing office, located in each state, District of Columbia, and most of the territories of the jurisdiction where the debtor is located, considered a resident, which is a commercial term. Perfection of the security interest by filing is available for most types of collateral and is discussed further below. However, a few types of collateral require that the security interest be perfected by a method of other than filing at the UCC filing office. So, it is a game of chess. Stop playing checkers with these assholes. So look, if you guys haven't seen the community section, if you guys just watched the videos, check out the community section. I drop fire in that motherfucker all day. You're gonna see all types of files in there, gematria, decoding. I drop a couple cures in that motherfucker, things like that. So I'm and I mean, I'm putting together a book and all that shit for all that type of stuff too. Gematria decode book. So you know, with things that I found that I think need to be talked about. So like I said, it is a game of chess. Stop playing checkers with these assholes. That's what I got for you for now.